Alright, gun enthusiasts, get ready for a showdown you won't want to miss. The iconic pump action versus the legendary lever action rifles. Two legendary designs, packed with history, jaw-dropping mechanics, and die-hard fans. But here's the million-dollar question. Which one takes the crown? Which rifle belongs in your arsenal? And how do these titans stack up in battle? We've got the answers you're craving. Stick around, because things are about to get heated. Okay, so before we go off and crown a king, it's time for a little history lesson. The pump-action rifle was born in the late 19th century. While it initially made its mark in the shotgun world, it quickly caught the attention of rifle manufacturers. And why wouldn't it? The design was simple but effective. It was basically a push-pull mechanism for cycling rounds. It was so simple, it almost felt natural. So, as you'd expect, it wasn't long before the pump actions were adapted for rifles and quickly started gaining popularity due to their versatility and speed. Lever action rifles, on the other hand, they are a whole different story. I mean, these things today have an even more legendary status, especially in the American frontier. Ask any true cowboy, and they'll tell you the Winchester 1866, aka Yellow Boy, was a game changer. A true icon of the Wild West, lever-action rifles became the go-to for cowboys, lawmen, and of course, pioneers. Offering rapid repeat shots with a smooth, rhythmic motion, this was the gun America was built on. It's the rifle of legends and, up till today, is still a favorite for its nostalgic appeal and functional design. But how do they work? Well, the pump-action rifle is quite easy to understand and operates through, you guessed it, a pump handle. See, by pulling the forend backward and then pushing it forward, you eject the spent round and chamber a new one, all while keeping your sights locked in place. This was what made the rifle stand out. This simple design essentially made it a fast, fluid motion weapon designed for those quick follow-up shots that you needed for tactical use and hunting. The lever-action rifle, however, is all about that iconic lever under the trigger guard. To be honest, using this gun is pretty badass. See, the mechanism, much like the shotgun, is very simple. You simply pull the lever downward and the action loads a fresh round into the chamber. Sure, it isn't as fast as the pump action, but it's a smooth, satisfying motion, and it's still quick enough for many hunters and shooters. So, which is better? To be fair, both rifles have advantages and disadvantages. Consider the pump-action rifle, for example. The pump-action rifle is pure versatility. Whether you are hunting, going to protect your property, or involved in a tactical situation, the pump action is the best option for rapid fire and versatility. The lever action, however, is a throwback. It's closely tied to Western hunting, and it carries a sense of nostalgia that many shooters find irresistible. While it remains a viable option for hunting, especially for the hunter pursuing medium-sized game, the charm of a lever gun is more about tradition. Basically, shooters who love the feel of history in their hands would cherish the lever action, enjoy the feel of the lever, and also enjoy the rich heritage. So, which rifle comes out on top? Well, stay tuned as we look at their stats and compare the Speedster versus the Spirit of Freedom itself. Trust me, this is going to be fun. Okay, so let's start with something most people like to avoid: the problems behind the mechanisms. See, although we just said both mechanisms are game changers, that doesn't mean they don't have some major problems. Take the pump action, for example. While the pump action rifle is celebrated for its versatility and rapid follow-up shots, it does have a couple of trade-offs that absolutely suck. First off, the action can be tiring after long sessions. Look, nobody is Superman, and constantly cycling the pump can be physically demanding, especially during really long use or under serious pressure in tactical situations. More than what you expect, the pumping action can lead to fatigue, essentially slowing down performance over time. Basically, this gun requires its owner to be as fit as possible, which sounds cool in theory but would suck if you were out of shape and needed it for protection. Another issue with these rifles, which is arguably worse than it being tiring, is just how poor the accuracy is under rapid fire. See, unlike a semi-automatic or bolt-action rifle, the need to cycle the action manually means that follow-up shots may not be as precise, especially because the act of pumping can slightly throw off the shooter's aim, especially in high-stress situations or when trying to land multiple shots quickly. And as if that's not bad enough, the pump mechanism is also prone to malfunction if not maintained properly. So basically, any dirt, moisture, or other debris in the action can essentially cause it to jam or fail to cycle properly, which can be a real headache in critical moments. Lever-action rifles, on the other hand, are no better and come with their own set of drawbacks. For example, the lever action can be slower than the pump, as the lever must be cycled by hand with each shot. Don't get us wrong, we aren't saying it's slow. What we are saying is that while fast, it's generally not as quick as the pump action, making it less ideal for situations requiring rapid fire. Another more serious limitation of the lever action is its magazine capacity. See, most lever action rifles have shorter magazine tubes than both pumps and semi-autos, so you will be reloading more often in a high-volume shooting situation. While this might not be an issue when on a range, the downsides of having less ammo can be a serious matter in tactical use or if you need even more firepower. Situations like dealing with a charging animal in the woods. Generally, pump-action rifles like the Remington Model 7600 usually hold roughly 5 to 10 rounds or even more. On the other hand, lever actions such as the Winchester 1892 often have lower magazine capacity. Overall, lever actions usually carry between 5 to 8 rounds. But the lever action doesn't just require multiple reloads. It's also more complex to load than other rifles. But why? Well, the tubular magazine can be really annoying and stressful when loading individual rounds. Not to mention, it's so much slower than most modern systems. Now, moving on from the drawback, let's look at just how accurate these guns are, because that's where things truly matter. Well, the pump-action rifle, while versatile, does present some challenges in accuracy, and that's thanks to a little something called recoil. See, the recoil from each shot is so powerful, it can throw off the shooter's aim, especially when cycling the pump. Not to mention, this interruption in focus between pumping the rifle and aiming can lead to slight inconsistency in accuracy, particularly for long-distance shots. Due to this, pump-action rifles tend to have somewhat worse accuracy at extended range. That said, if you practice, it's quite possible to achieve reasonably accurate shots, especially for medium-range shots. Essentially, pump-action rifles are well-suited for quick encounters where precision is not a concern. Lever-action rifles, however, generally benefit from a smoother cycling action that makes sure shooters can hold their aim steadier as they fire. Also, the design of the lever-action rifle will often allow for much better balance, which can generally result in better accuracy. Not to mention, the ability to cycle the lever without too much disruption makes it easier to keep the sights on target. So while the individual skill and the quality of the firearm also play significant roles in accuracy, lever-action rifles generally provide better accuracy, especially in steady shooting positions. Now, besides accuracy, you need to know just how far these guns can shoot. Well, range-wise, pump-action and lever-action rifles both have their unique traits that apply specifically to them. For instance, pump-action rifles like the Winchester Model 61 and the Remington Model 7600 are built with multiple range shots in mind. In other words, they are designed to be practical for hunting when speed and flexibility are needed, so they typically are effective up to 100 to 150 yards, although the Remington Model 7600 can go as high as 250 yards with good accuracy. Sure, they can shoot from beyond there, but the recoil and mechanical cycling of the pump will have an impact on their shooting at these extreme distances. In contrast, a lever-action rifle, such as the Winchester 1866 or Henry 4570, has a greater range for precision shooting. For instance, 30-30 Winchester rifles are said to be ideal for medium to long-range shots with an effective range of 200 to 300 yards. Not to mention, the smoother cycling of the lever action allows for better accuracy at these distances. Basically, lever-action rifles are best for hunting in open terrain where precision at longer ranges is often required. Though not as extreme as bolt-action rifles, lever actions still perform admirably at moderate ranges. Now, with that said, you should note that the effective range of both pump-action and lever-action rifles is heavily determined by the cartridge rather than the gun's action type. For example, a pump-action Remington 7600 and a 30-06 can exceed 250 yards, while lever actions like the 30-30 Winchester typically reach 200 to 300 yards, with higher-powered variants like the 45-70 Governments. What we are explaining here is the accuracy range of someone who is still getting a hang of these rifles, and not a well-trained professional with all the bells and whistles. So we've touched on range and touched on accuracy. Well, now let's look at just how easy it is to aim one of these icons. Although it seems dumb, these little details are the difference between picking the right gun for you and burning a lot of money. With that said, aiming with the pump-action rifle is tough. It basically requires the shooter to maintain a strong grip and focus while cycling the pump. And as if that wasn't a whole thing on its own, the distraction of cycling the action has also been known to make rapid aiming more difficult, though this is less of an issue when shooting slowly and deliberately. The lever-action rifle's design, on the other hand, with its ergonomically placed lever, often allows for a smoother aiming process. Now, this is because of the easy cycling of the lever lets the shooter return the sights to the target with minimal disruption. This essentially makes the lever action a more natural and efficient option for shooters who prioritize accuracy during follow-up shots. Okay, with that said, let's look at just how fast they shoot. See, for pump-action rifles like the Winchester Model 61 and Remington 870, speed is not a problem. These rifles can deliver quick follow-up shots that will match any use case. But here's the thing. The speed depends heavily on the shooter's ability to manually cycle the action. Remember, after each shot, the shooter must pull the forend back and push it forward to eject the spent cartridge and chamber a new round. So basically, the faster the pump, the faster the shots. As you would expect, the pump action can be quick with practice, but it is inherently slower than semi-automatic rifles. As it stands, skilled shooters can cycle these rifles fairly fast, especially in close-range situations, but their rate of fire will still be definitely slower compared to semi-autos. On the other side, in the world of lever-action rifles, such as the Winchester 1892 or Henry Big Boy models, speed is not really a strong point. See, these guns generally have a slower rate of fire, and that's because after firing, the shooter must push and pull the lever to eject the spent casing and load a new round. This slow procedure is less fluid, and compared to the back-and-forth motion of a pump action, it is extremely slow. However, with pump-action rifles, experienced shooters can still fire relatively quickly. So far, we've looked at some really important features to see just how these rifles match up. But now it's time to look at something that makes a difference in a rifle: just how long they can last. When it comes to reliability, the pump-action rifle is a gift that keeps on giving. Just ask anyone who's used one of them, and they will tell you the pump-action rifles are known for their mechanical simplicity and excessive reliability. In fact, models like the Remington Model 7600 and Winchester Model 61 are legendary for cycling even under harsh, dirty, or wet conditions. And since the shooter manually cycles the action, pump actions actually have an edge over semi-automatics since they are less prone to jamming. Not to mention, they can feed a wide range of ammunition, including low-power loads that might fail to cycle in a semi-auto, essentially making them ideal for high-stress environments like law enforcement, home defense, or survival scenarios where reliability is paramount. Basically, when unsure, grab a pump-action rifle. Trust me. Lever-action rifles like the Marlin 336 or Winchester 94, on the other hand, are generally reliable but slightly more sensitive to debris or improper cycling. So basically, if the shooter fails to fully work the lever, it can cause feeding issues or jams. But with that said though, well-maintained lever actions are time-tested and dependable, especially with consistent ammunition types. These things have been used for over a century in rugged terrains and still continue to prove today that the spirit of freedom doesn't stop kicking. But say you drop your gun or bash it against something. What rifle would shrug off the impact? Well, the pump-action rifles are built like tanks. Models like the Remington 7600 Police Magnum are designed to take abuse. These things have survived everything from being dropped to exposure in mud, water, or snow, all without missing a beat. And that's because this rifle's parts are overbuilt and durable, so much so that many pump actions from the 1960s are still in service today. Lever actions are also durable, but their more intricate internals and moving parts mean they can wear faster, not maintained properly. But that's just on paper, because rifles like the Marlin 1895 or the Winchester 92 are known to last generations. These things are durable enough for repeated field use, but just don't handle them like a baseball bat, okay? In terms of maintenance, the pump actions are easy to strip and clean, especially models designed with field use in mind. With these rifles, parts are usually fewer and more robust, and because of this, a shooter can field strip a Mossberg 590 or a Remington 7600 in minutes, clean it with basic tools, and keep it functioning for decades. Not to mention, their low sensitivity to carbon buildup or fouling makes them ideal for extended field use without constant maintenance. Lever actions, however, require a bit more effort to maintain. For one, accessing the internals for cleaning often involves removing side plates or screws, especially on older designs like the Winchester 1894. While the modern lever actions like the Henry Big Boy are easier to maintain, they still demand more care and disassembly time than pump actions. So with that said, which is the better rifle? Well, choosing between a pump action and a lever action rifle ultimately comes down to what you want to use them for, personal preference, and the environment you find yourself in. If your priority is speed, rugged performance, and ease of maintenance, then the pump action rifle wins hands down with no arguments. Thanks to their faster cycling, higher magazine capacity, and straightforward construction, these rifles are perfect for scenarios like home defense, tactical use, or varmint control. However, if your focus is on shooting precision, historical appeal, and a smoother, more fluid experience, then by all means, the lever action takes the cake. Though its rate of fire and reloading speed are slightly slower, lever actions like the Marlin 336 or Winchester Model 94 offer excellent control, reliability, and a more balanced shooting posture. And all in all, they shine best in hunting environments where accuracy and deliberate shot placement matter more than rapid cycling. Ultimately, neither rifle is universally better. Each platform excels in different contexts. Pump actions offer tactical advantages and efficiency, while lever action bring precision, elegance, and a proven record in the field. The better rifle is the one that aligns best with your purpose, skill level, and shooting style. So what do you think? Is the pump action rifle the ultimate in rapid fire efficiency, or does the classic lever action hold a special place in your heart with its smooth, nostalgic action? We'd love to hear your take. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get this debate rolling. And as always, if you're hungry for more gun knowledge, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for the latest in firearm wisdom. Catch you in the next one. Stay sharp and keep your aim true.